Hey, I'm Travis with Hoss Tools, and this is a weekly video series we do called Garden Goodies. It's just a short compilation of some small, shorter videos we've filmed throughout the week as we've been in our gardens, maintaining them, weeding them, harvesting things, and even planting new crops. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions about any of the clips, always feel free to put those in the comments, and we'll be glad to help you out. I want to give you all a little update on our okra plot here, where we did some trials comparing the jambalaya to some of these open pollinated heirloom varieties. And it's been kind of a strange, I won't say strange year, but it's unusual how short this okra has stayed this year, especially this jambalaya here. You can see still producing lots of good pods there. But usually I have to plant about 2, sometimes 3 rounds of okra because it just gets too tall to pick. But this year, this stuff has all stayed relatively short for me. You see most of these are about 4.5 to 6 foot tall anywhere. They just haven't gotten real tall, which has been nice. I don't really know, can't pinpoint what I've done different this year. I haven't fertilized them at all, just put some good compost in here when we planted. But it's been really nice. You know, I've been working off this same 4 rows of okra of jambalaya here since the spring. And they haven't got too tall to pick yet. And doesn't look like they're gonna get too tall. So it's been nice just to have to, you know, go with 1 round of okra instead of several to have production all throughout the warm growing season. One thing I like about the jambalaya is it stays shorter than most other varieties. We showed you on a previous video where we had that Star of David right there where it got too tall, fell over, we had to cut it down. We can see here some of this red burgundy is getting too tall. I can't reach up there and grab those. Some of it is falling in there. So those will be the next to get chopped down. This cow horn over here has just kind of stopped producing for whatever reason. It was a great producer early on, but it's just kind of slacked off as it's got real tall. Probably my #1 variety as far as the OP variety goes is the Silver Queen right here. It has stayed shorter than any of the other OP varieties, and the production on it has been really, really good. Almost to that of the jambalaya. So this is my new favorite OP variety. The jambalaya will always be my favorite hybrid variety because it just makes so much, stays short and manageable throughout a long growing season. So if y'all watch a whole lot of our videos, you know we love our tomatoes around here. Now we didn't grow these here, and I'm gonna tell you about them in just a minute. But we love tomatoes, and the problem with being down here in the south is it can be tough to grow tomatoes, and a lot of times we have to grow the hybrid determinate type tomatoes because we have a, you know, kind of a short tomato growing season down here because it gets hot so quick, and we need those hybrids with the disease resistance that can handle our humidity and disease pressure down here. And we have lots of good hybrid disease resistant tomatoes on our website, in addition to lots of good heirlooms if you like growing heirlooms. But today I want to show you these 2 new varieties. Now I can't tell you the name of them yet, but we try to stay on top of things as far as what's up and coming in the tomato world, as far as good hybrids with disease resistance that also taste really, really awesome. So one of our tomato breeders sent us this seed, or excuse me, these tomatoes right here. Sent them in the mail. They held up pretty good in the mail. And we got 2 varieties here. We've got one which is a determinate slicer, and I really like the size on this one. You know, it's not massive, it's just a good round, kind of perfect size tomato. It's just never seen one that was just so uniform and kind of perfectly round like this one is here. So this one has some really good disease resistance. I've already took a bite out of several of those slices there. It's really, really tasty. And then right here we have a grape tomato, and I wish I could, but I just can't tell you the name of it yet until we confirm we'll be able to get some seeds. But I will tell you, this is the best tasting grape tomato I have ever had. Look at the color on that guy right there. It's like a dark red, almost crimson color. And so unlike most of your cherry or grape varieties, this is a determinate, which is awesome for us. We like determinants because they're easier to trellis, easier to handle, and they make a lot at one time. So a determinate, disease-resistant grape tomato variety, and I'm telling you, you won't find a better tasting grape or cherry tomato than that puppy right there. These guys are absolutely delicious. They sent us a lot more in this bowl right here, but this little bowl is all that's left. We've been snacking on them pretty hard. So hopefully everything will pan out well, and we can get our hands on some of these seeds and offer them to you guys, and you can grow them in your garden next year, because we definitely plan on growing them as well. We'll see you next time. Well, our second cover crop of sunflowers is up, as you can see here. I was out of town for a few days, came home, and it was nice to see these guys have sprouted. I had to put a little overhead water on them to you know, feed them a little bit. They were a little bit thirsty after being gone for a few days. But you can see we've got 8 rows in here, and I have to say we didn't do too bad, considering we didn't lay off the rows and we didn't measure them or nothing. Some of them were a little wobbly, but we didn't do too bad as far as getting them fairly equally spaced there. So we've got 3 varieties of dwarf sunflowers here, and on the back side there, those last 2 rows are taller sunflowers. Now I got to get in here with my wheel hoe this afternoon and do a little light cultivation between these rows. I got some Bermuda grass trying to creep in right there. Get my oscillating hoe on my wheel hoe and take care of that. I got a few weeds popping in there, a little morning glory here and there, and a few of them volunteer South End butternuts trying to grow. But for the most part, we got really good germination. Everything looks pretty nice and consistent there. The dwarf sunflowers, looks like we had our seed plate dialed in really well with those. I won't have to thin those or do nothing with them. These other ones, these taller ones here, we got the Santa Fe Sunset, I believe, on this second to last row. Planted them pretty thick. Our seed plate was putting them down pretty thick because those seeds were a little bit smaller. And then our chocolate cherry here, those are pretty thick there. That'll be all right. We've planted them like that before, and they'll get up and they'll do just fine. So a nice fall cover crop of sunflowers here. We'll take our wheel hoe and keep this lightly cultivated about once or twice a week until these sunflowers get up and get some nice foliage on them. Then they'll shade out this area, and we'll just sit back and enjoy all the nice pretty blooms, and our bees and beneficial insects will enjoy them as well. So this is a big old plot here, about 25 foot wide, 60 foot long. We'll have a lot of sunflowers in here for fall. So we just put some fall pole beans in the ground here where we had our buckwheat cover crop planted. And we got a YouTube video coming soon on this showing the entire process. We got some of these rattlesnake beans, Christmas pole lima beans, and scarlet emperor runner beans down, a row of each of those. And I want to talk to you a minute about direct seeding with drip tape. So you can see our main line tubing there, and it's feeding these drip lines here. And on the drip tape, the emitters are located every foot along the road, and you can see where the emitters are. You can see there's water spots there. Now, if we're planting transplants, we just usually put the transplants on top of each or beside each emitter, depending on what our desired spacing is. You know, if it's something like, say, lettuce, we'll just put 1 transplant on top of each emitter. If it's tomatoes, we want a 2-foot spacing. We'll put a plant beside every other emitter or on top of every other emitter. If we're direct seeding, now you can't see the beans that I've direct seeded in here. The beans, we want them closer than 1 foot. And so some people ask, well, how are those seeds in between the emitters going to get watered? Well, these things put out plenty of water, and over time you'll see that little dark spot get bigger and bigger and bigger, and after an hour or two you'll just see this continuous kind of dark wet path here along the row where it's covered those gaps. So no worries there. You can direct seed along here. Same thing with corn. You know, you put your seeds 6 inches apart or 4 inches apart or whatever. These things put out plenty enough water to cover those gaps. You won't notice any difference in germination or growth between those that are right beside the emitters and those that are between the emitters. Because like I said, they put out plenty of water. And as I always say, this is the most effective and efficient way to water. Saves water, you know, conserves water, gets it where your plants need it, and because you're not feeding these blank areas between the rows, you don't have to worry about as much weed pressure. So in one of our YouTube videos a week or so ago, we talked about how we were doing a little experiment planting some fall taters, and it's kind of hard to see where those rows are at there. I can kind of tell where the little hill is there. So we got 2 rows of red New Orleans that we kind of recycled from our spring harvest and planted in here. Now there's a lot of volunteer canary melons popping up in here. I'll run through here with a wheel hoe and knock those out pretty quick. I just wanted to check on some of these taters right here and see if they actually made it. You know, sometimes it takes a little while for them to start emerging from the ground, and you kind of get a little nervous and you wonder if they've rotted in the ground or if they're going to come up or not. So let's scratch around and see if we can find one here along this road. Let's just start right here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There's one right there. Look at that guy. We got roots forming there. Got a sprout coming up. So looks like we might have a few potato plants along this row here. I'm gonna nestle this guy back down in here, cover him back up. That's always a good sign to see. I haven't watered these any since we put them in the ground. And if they get a little water, if we get a little rain, not a big deal. They might get a little water from me. I need to put a little bit of overhead water on those zinnias, so they might get a little water from there. But we try to keep the water to a minimum until they sprout or start getting those roots so they don't rot in the ground. Still don't have any of them popping up through the ground yet, but good to know we got some root development going on there. And even if every single seed piece we planted doesn't make it, we should still get a decent little spread on these 2 rows here, hopefully.